So I was talking about the concept of marketing and its evolution through the time, and the fact that it only really started in the 50s, but before that was propaganda, and a very famous individual that was known for propaganda is Edward Bernays. And so I believe it was in the 30s, he was asked to boost the interest of cigarettes by women. So most of the people smoking then were men, and so there was no reason why women could not smoke. At least that's what those cigarette company was thinking. So they asked Bernays, how do you make women smoke cigarettes? And so it was very interesting that most people thought that you had to advertise more about it, but he said, no, you have to make people believe that this is the right thing to do. That would cost you less and it would be more effective. So he did some research and found that the women were not particularly attracted by smoking cigarettes. There was no real desire from them. But then he said, if you tell the women that it's one way for them to be more like a man, to show that they are like men, they can do what they want, they can smoke, they can look like a man, they can be free. They were going to be able to, through the consumption of the cigarettes, show their freedom, show their liberty, show that they are as good, as important. And that was the message that you had to give to women. And that's what they did. And eventually the women became smokers as much as the men. So I recommend you to be curious and go on YouTube, and you can Google Edward Bernays, and you will see all kind of videos of people talking about him, and see how, in fact, Edward Bernays is still used today in order to sort of inspire, I would say, or encourage people to make decisions, which are not always the decision in their favor, but they think it's in their favor. So marketing has existed before Bernays, but the one way to look at it is that we had the Industrial Revolution, and at that time, every industry was looking at producing more. After this followed the fact that they produced in quantities, and the more quantity, the cheaper the price. So they focused more on the quality of the product. So they had a product concept. Following that is they had too many products and too many competitors. So then they focused on trying to sell this product. And from this concept of selling was the birth of the concept of marketing, because marketing is about selling, but when you are in marketing and you focus on selling, is you've missed at least 50% of the impact that marketing has. Marketing is sort of this science, sort of this art, sort of this technology that helps you do less selling. It sells by itself because the product was made to satisfy the needs of the customers. So the customers don't have to be enticed, encouraged to buy the product. They just see it, they just know that this is what they're missing, this is what they want. So the marketing concept was followed by the societal marketing concept, which is therefore an offspring of marketing concept that says, you know, it's not just telling people that they need it or making them believe that they need it. It's also telling them that this product is going to help the environment. It's going to help the society. It's going to be safer. It's going to be better. It's going to make you feel better. And it's going to be more ethical. And so you can use societal marketing in a way to inspire people and sell more products, or you can also do societal marketing because you see that it has a longer impact. So it will impact people for a longer time because they will see that you are not a predator. They will see that you're concerned about their satisfaction, but you're also concerned about the impact that you have on the environment. So you can be hypocritical and use all of these just for the sake of greed, but you can also be someone that realizes that this power that could get you rich can also help you um, help your community, raise your community. So marketing has a very, very strong power. So this slide is exactly what I said, but it's some textbook, some professor, some theory is about the fact that they are different era. So they say that this happened during different times, versus this one only talks about the concept and it doesn't tell you that they happen in different times. My perception is I think this one is more correct in the sense that when you're a consultant or when you work for a company, even today, you can see some companies which are more product oriented. And they are now in 2021. And you can see some companies that are more production oriented, and you can see some companies that are more selling oriented. And sometimes it's a combination. It's just not one. It's like three of them with different weights. So this theory is all of these happen in a different era is also true because there was a little bit of a stigma, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, which were not in marketing, they were more in production era. So you have to, both are correct, but it's no, so it's like funny because every textbook takes a side. They either one of this slide and not the other, versus I think both are very true, and it's okay to be able to see that. So marketing is a function inside most businesses, if not all businesses. This function originally, in some company, is just one of the function without a difference of weight. But sometimes there's a difference of weight where marketing is a smaller one of the function, but sometimes it's a bigger one of the function. Oftentimes you will see that it has a bigger weight as a function. Why is that? Because marketing is the function that is the most directly related to sales. So some people minimize the concept of marketing as being in sales. It's true. Sales is part of marketing. Like advertising is part of marketing. Social media is part of marketing. Public relations is part of marketing. So marketing is not one thing. Marketing has components inside. So you could be in marketing and deal with all the components, or you could be in marketing specifically in one division, doing only one of these components. So someone who's in charge of pricing can be um, uh, in marketing, but in charge of just the pricing, the research about prices. That person obviously is going to be working very closely with production and finance and accounting and the supply chain management and all this in order to think and research. I guess I said that. So marketing has evolved. Then it became the center of the company, and then it became just one of the functions surrounding the most important thing inside a business, which are the customers. Now, the marketing constantly evolves, but you have to understand that the best case scenario is when everyone understands that they contribute directly or indirectly to the satisfaction of the customers. And at the end, the success of the company comes from the fact that customers are supporting your company. And if they're supporting your company, it's because they are satisfied. So marketing has a direct relationship with this. And that's why the marketers tends to be the people that are the most well-paid people in the company. In fact, if you take most companies, 90% of the company, who is the person that makes the most money?
The
What function?
CEO.
Okay, so the CEO. Could there be someone that makes more money than the CEO?
The board of
Potentially.
directors.
The board of director? Yeah.
A salesman can make more than the CEO. They don't cap.
Yeah,
Their,
exactly. If they don't cap, a salesman can make more than a CEO.
The shareholders?
Those aren't
Well,
employees of the company.
Yeah, they're not employed, but I mean, the shareholders could make more than the CEO and the salespeople. It's true. But out of the staff, the employed staff, the people that makes the most money are salespeople. I can't do this today. It's sort of, I guess I could, but I'm going to go fast on this. When we are in the class, when I have 160, 170 people in the class, I did it last year. So that's the first year I haven't done it in 20 years at CSUN. So I did it 19 times, 20 times in a row. I asked these questions 20 times in a row, 160 people. Who wants to be rich? And then I say, who wants to be poor? Then I say, who wants to be rich? Essentially, almost everyone wants to be somewhat rich. Then I say, who wants to make more than 50,000, more than 100, more than 200? I have lots of people still in the more than 200, like 75%. Then I say, who wants to be a surgeon? Nobody. Who wants to be a lawyer? There's usually one out of 170 people. Who wants to be in real estate? There's one and two. Who wants to be a celebrity? There's usually one and two. Who wants to be a salesperson? There's usually four, maybe five. And then I said, geez, you're gonna have to tell me how you all want to make more than $200,000 because I gave you all these jobs. You know, salespeople are the people that makes the most money. If you ever want to get rich, become a salesperson. They are the one that makes the most money. Students, I've demonstrated that over thousands of people don't want to be a salesperson, but they all want to get rich. The 95% plus only way to get rich is to become a salesperson. It's possible to become a professional basketball player or singer and all of this. It's possible, but it's unlikely. For a salesperson, almost anyone can do it. So there's more.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
Would you say, because I know you're saying that salespeople would make the most money, would you say sales associates in a corporation would be able to make the most profit, you know, with however long that they stay inside that corporation? Or would you say, like, you know, self-employed?
Okay, so I'll give you both. So if you are a salesperson in a corporation and your salary is not capped, and this company is smart, they're going to pay the salespeople the best because that's how you keep your business growing. They are the mercenaries. They are the lions. If you look at a National Geographic, you see the lions, the top lions, the one that were, you know, got the DNA to be the boss of the pride, is the one that starts the hunt. They see the buffalo, they decide which buffalo, they start moving towards the buffalo and everybody follows. And then they make the first run. And then they make the first punch. And then they do the kill. That's a salesperson. Salesperson is this person with the instinct to complete, the instinct to make a sale. Businesses need salespeople because they make that sales. The money, the food, like for the lion, comes from salespeople. It doesn't come from anyone else. When you go to I worked for the two largest consulting firm in the world, and I was a senior consultant, so I was pretty high up, but I was not a partner. I mean, I was, 22 years old. So I worked directly with the partners, and I spent some time with them. They usually work in a tower, 28th floor, 50th floor, whatever. They are the last floor. You spend a day with them, you think they don't do anything. They go play golf in the morning, then they have a big lunch in some country club, then they go play tennis, and then they go play golf, and then tennis and golf and all this. You go, what? That's their life? Yes, because they are the lion. They have meetings with the people that give them the $1 million contracts, not the people that are on the first floor. The people on the first floor of those towers, they pack, they do shipping. The second floor, they do printing. The third floor, they do sorting. And it keeps on going like this. The last floor, they are the one, they are never there. They go play golf. Okay, so because they get the sales, they get the big sales, they get, the meat. And so they make the most money. You need them. If you have a business, and I've seen many, many businesses that don't believe that, they are businesses that are like a 6-cylinder engine, and they're working on 4 or 3 or 2. They're not 100% working because they don't value salespeople. When you go to a business that they tell you that the most paid person is a salesperson, that's a good sign. When they tell you that they have a good fixed income, but not too big, but they have a huge compensation, huge commissions, and all of this because they know those people like to make a lot of money, and they can if they work hard. So that's how it works. Is you want these people that they live for sales. They wouldn't do anything else. These people are 75 years old and they're still in sales. It's in their blood. Okay, so this type of people, you want them. Now, these people can be independent as well. When they become independent, they usually call brokers. And a broker is someone that go in between distributors, manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers. They go in between all of these people. And what they do is they create networks. So like the most famous one is a realtor. A realtor, do a realtor own houses? Usually not. What do they own is they own the service of putting a connection between someone selling a house and between someone buying a house. But what they do is they know what to do. They know where to put the ads. They know they have a good list of agents. They know they know how to share. Oh, 5%, I'll put 1% here, 0.2% here. They know how to spend. They understand money. They're very quick at thinking about money. And so these people are oftentimes I think they are the most important people in a firm. And if you are a CEO and you want your firm to grow, you don't get all of this money like a pig. What you do is you channel as much money as you can to these salespeople, because these salespeople are the ones that are making it. Oftentimes, and this is more common these days, is you gain from the equity of your company. So let's say, how much do you make a year? You make 150,000. Could you make 200, 300, 300? Yeah, but you don't want to, because you want the money to go to these people because they're making money, but your company value is multiplying by 2 every year. So it used to be worth 1 million. Now, because of them, it's worth 2 million. You made 1 million. You're happy to take only 150 when your company is worth 1 million more. It's not worth 1 million more only because of you. It's worth 1 million more because of them. So you pay them more because they make your business become more. And you own the business, so you own you own the money that this business is worth. So that is very, very important. And what I said right now, many people understand it, but there's many people that don't understand it. And I'm always excited to hear other people explain that. There's someone that you should all listen to that would eventually, I think, say that what you just said is absolutely correct. Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a YouTuber, a social media guru with lots of videos. He has probably most of the largest amount of videos on YouTube as a YouTuber when it talks to business. He seems to be someone very knowledgeable. He has Gary Vaynerchuk would probably agree with the CEO of this company. Ryanair is like a smaller airline in Europe, which is British. And the CEO said, business books are bullshit and are usually written by wonkers. There may be some truth to this. And he put this in the most famous entrepreneur magazine called Entrepreneur. And so obviously I'm a business professor with a PhD and all that. And you would say, how could a PhD full professor from one of the largest universities in California would say that and possibly agree with that? I'd agree because I'm worried that some people think that you don't learn anything in a business school, which in fact is what Gary Vaynerchuk says all the time. And he may be right, because people are learning chapters. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I don't teach chapters. I teach environment, research, product development, strategy, strengths, weaknesses, opportunity and threats. What are opportunities? Make sure you understand opportunities. Is this opportunity for you compared to your competitors? Who are your competitors? What are these competitors? Are they your competitors now? Will they be your competitors later? So that's what you need to learn in order to go in the business jungle and survive. Any questions before I lose you somewhere? No questions? Okay. So so in your marketing network, you have many groups that are involved. Obviously, you have your company and the people inside your company, but you also have the next group will be your customers, your suppliers, your distribution network, and then the people that would be helping you with some jobs, being logistics, being accounting, being legal, being advertising agencies, and things like that. All of these are part of your environment and that you deal with. So marketing is more successful when you understand that marketing is before production. So obviously I'm a marketing professor, so one may say, if we listen to you, marketing is better than everything else. That's not what I'm saying, and I hope I don't get to be seen that way. I think marketing may be more important than people think if they don't know much. If they don't know much, they may think production is more, because they may think if there's no production, there's nothing. It's true. If there's no production, there's nothing. But once you start thinking about production, if you want to do it right, this is when you need to have a marketer. So here comes an engineer. An engineer is going to tell people to produce. But the fact of producing, you may end up having a lot of products, but nothing that anyone wants. Producers don't make products for engineers who have been the one creating them. Producers make products for customers. Who's the best voice in the business environment of customers beside customers? That's the marketers. The marketers need to be the intermediary, the voice that hears the customers and then translate the desires, the needs, the wants of the customers, and make this translation in the language that will be understood by the producers. Then the producer, if they understand and communicate well with the marketers, is very likely to make a product that is a product that will please the customers. And therefore, then this company becomes more successful than if it was just a producer producing the product that they think they like. So marketers are this necessary intermediary to make a better connection between production and customer. And they will facilitate this, and they will enhance eventually the satisfaction. What's the benefit of satisfaction is once people are satisfied, they buy more. Once people are satisfied, they buy again. Once people are satisfied, they may be buying the new version, or they may be buying something else, because then there's a brand that is involved. They don't buy a product anymore because they are satisfied, they buy a brand. And because there is a brand, then they try to buy other things made by that brand, and therefore it expands the business of that producer because now they are supported by customers. And producers are supported by customers because marketers were in between to make the translation between the market and the producers. So what is marketing myopia? Marketing myopia is when you focus too much on products. When you focus too much on products, is you focus on making products, as many as you can, that way it'd be cheaper if you make a lot of them, and then get the best salespeople to sell the product. And then you're not going to be in marketing, you're going to be in sales, which I don't want to confuse you. I said that sales is part of marketing, but it's like a smaller part. So it'll be like saying that, you know, if you're sick, you want to go see a physician, and then that physician may refer you to a cardiologist that's going to look at your heart. But if you're sick, normally you don't want to go see a cardiologist because that person really knows a lot about the heart, but not so much about the overall physical health. So The marketer is someone that needs to understand all the functions within marketing and not just sales. Salespeople may understand marketing, but oftentimes they are very, very, very good at sales, but not the elements, other elements within marketing. So marketing myopia is when you really think that what's the most important to succeed in business is to have the best product. A lot of best products fail, and they fail because they didn't understand that it's even possible to be very successful without the best product. I'm not saying with a bad product, but with a product that is not the best, that is maybe 25% not as good as the best. You can be the most sold product, car, hairspray, lipstick, and not be the best product. People don't buy the best product. People buy the product that they think is the best. And again, this is going back to Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays is all about people perception. People are not always often in search of the truth, because the truth often requires more knowledge to understand what's the best, more time. So what marketers do is they simplify things, because they know when you simplify, you get more power in manipulating people by telling people what they want to hear. And once you tell people what they want to hear, then you can be successful. So I felt like saying, it's this concept of you have to be focused on the customers, on their satisfaction, versus focused on what am I good at making. We don't care what you're good at making. We care for what do the customers want. So if you are in the business of manufacturing drill bits and you think that this is the business you're in, you may be in danger. You should think of yourself as being in the business of making holes. We make holes. We have a company that manufactures products to make holes, the best holes, the fastest hole, the more precise holes. Do you make drill bits? Right now, we're making drill bits, but tomorrow may not be drill bits anymore. It may be something else. We are in the business of making holes, business of giving satisfaction for a problem with a solution to the customers. We are not product focused. We are customer focused. We are satisfaction focused. So I was saying you cannot create needs. You cannot create needs because they already exist. And they are human and universal. But what businesses do is they create wants, which is how you serve those needs. So I'm thirsty, I can drink water from the fountain, but I could drink Red Bull, I could drink coffee, I could drink Coca-Cola. So what marketers do is they create wants, and they make people feel like they need it if you want to. So why would you care of that difference? You would care of that difference because you don't want business people, marketing people to believe that they are creating needs. And therefore, when they are analyzing consumers, they need to be very clear about what is it that they are analyzing. Are they analyzing the need and the want, and how the want fulfills the need? Once you start looking at it from this direction, you have a much more accurate view of the relationship between these products and the consumers. So that's why it's important. And then demand is the third one, which is essentially talking about the fact that demand is being able to afford what you want. So that one is pretty self-explanatory. So what is a target market? The concept of target market is the idea that you cannot be everything to everyone. So you have to specifically select who you want to be your customer. Not everyone can respond the same to the same product. We all have different preferences, different cultures, different genders that affects how we look at things and what we want and need more at certain time in our lives. So therefore, business people should be aware that you cannot be everything to everyone, and therefore you need to identify a group of customers which can be still pretty broad, or it can be very narrow, and this is called the target market. In marketing, there are a lot of terms that are inherited from military, like a target, like an objective, like a strategy, like a tactic. Okay, so the reason is that because you're planning, and so you have to be in this concept of planning and in this concept of being as accurate as you can. So now here's an interesting concept, the concept of value and satisfaction. So value is the difference between what you gain and what you buy, how much you spend and how much you benefit. Satisfaction is the difference between the perceived performance and the delivered performance. So they seem to be the same. They seem to be trivial, but they are very important. Obviously, satisfaction is one of, if not the most important. Satisfaction and value are not exactly the same, but they're both necessary. So value is, I spend $5 and I get a coffee. That's not value because I'm used to spend 99 cents to get a coffee. Someone else spends usually $10. Now they hear about $5. This is value. Value is this assessment of what you pay and what you get. Satisfaction is I drink the coffee and then let's say I'm not asleep. Therefore, I'm satisfied. I drink the coffee because I didn't want to sleep. Now, if I drink the coffee and after I drink the coffee, I'm even sleepier than before the coffee, then I'm dissatisfied. Okay, so what's the difference between value and satisfaction, therefore? If you're a marketer, you care for both, but there's a difference. The difference is the timing. You see, I'm looking for a coffee and I'm used to spend $10 and I see one that is for $5. Therefore, this looks like value. It's before consumption. It's the perception of what do I get and what do I pay. So I see this vacation in Mexico and it's a week and it's $3,000. And there is fishing and surfing and 2 massage. Now I see another week that is offered in Hawaii and it's not $3,000, it's $4,000, but I see that it has surfing and fishing, and instead of 3 massage, it has 4 massage, but it's $1,000 more. I may think that this is not value. Value is the one that 3 massage for $3,000. It's $1,000 more for just one more massage. It's not value. But then I go in Mexico, and it rains the entire week. I will be dissatisfied because I never expected that I'll be cold in my vacation on a warm area. So satisfaction is what happens after. So when you're in marketing, you need to think about both the value that you're creating, which helps you get people to buy your product and want to buy it again because they keep this perception of value. But satisfaction is when they actually bought it, are they satisfied with what they expected? It's even possible that the characteristics that they use in order to measure the value are different than the characteristics that they use afterwards to measure the satisfaction, and vice versa. But what's very important is to understand that you need to understand the value. And these values don't have to be the truth. What I mean by the truth is there's a difference between a professional person evaluating something and a random person evaluating something. And the truth is in the eye of the person. So Let me give you an example. If people are tasting a new cookie that you're making, and you're using fake vanilla, artificial vanilla, and you give this to people, and then you give the real vanilla to people, fake vanilla cookie, real vanilla cookie, and you give this to people. Which one will people like the most, do you think?
The real one?
Probably real one.
People will like the most the fake vanilla, not the real one. Now, if you look inside this group of people and you isolate people, you isolate them by looking at what do they do. And you find there's people that work in the food industry. There's people that are sous chef and chef and so forth. Then you isolate them. You put all the foodie people on one side and cook and so forth. And then you put the other people. And now you look at the data, and then you will find that within the cook, most of them will prefer the real vanilla by tasting it. And the people by tasting it will prefer the fake. They have no experience. So what happens then is you realize that the truth is a good cookie with vanilla is a cookie with real vanilla. But a real vanilla cookie may not be as, let's say, sweet because it's real vanilla. It has more strong flavors, but they are flavors that are not as sweet. And versus the fake vanilla will be, let's say, sweeter, but not as intense as vanilla. It will be maybe like a sugar flavor sort of vanilla that will be more appreciated by the rest of the people. So that's what marketers will worry about all the time, is if you let the engineers develop the product, they may be developing the best product in the eye of engineers for engineers, but it won't be in the eye of the people actually using the product, which would be people that would have a different set of characteristics when looking at the product.
Is that also because of familiarity?
Yes, because of familiarity. So I remember this was a big deal in golfing, for example. So many people in the class probably don't play golf. But what happens is in the early 80s, golf became much more popular as a sport. Before, it was very much for the elite. And back late 70s, early 80s, that's when it started. And you saw people from different social class starting to play golf. I mean, it was not for the poor people back then still, but other classes could start playing. And the golf clubs were being engineered more and more for the professional. And so people were buying the best golf clubs, would buy the golf clubs which were designed by expert engineer for professional golf player. And one person that was in the wine business, in fact, there was an avid golf player called Callaway. So now that's like one of the 5 most famous brand of golf, but back then it was nothing. He looked at this phenomenon and wondered, why are the people engineering harder and harder to play golf club, which are better and better for professional, when they're trying to appeal to a broader and broader audience that are starting to learn golf. So we see the Callaway created a golf club that they call the Big Bertha. The Big Bertha now is like one of the most famous golf clubs. They're still making it, and essentially every brand of golf club now makes something like a Big Bertha, which was a golf club that was really going against the movement, because the movement for the design of a golf club from the 70s to the 90s was to make the iron, so the golf club, become smaller and smaller and smaller. So they had a sweet spot on it that was becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. So therefore it was harder and harder to hit with a golf club that was becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Callaway did the opposite. He made them bigger and bigger and bigger. So people were able to hit the golf ball easier and easier and easier. So he said, I'm not focusing on the need of those very few experts and making it more and more difficult to play these as a beginner, but the opposite. I went for the beginners. And so he went overnight as a big golf producer of equipment, because he was responding not to the expert, not to the professional, but to the masses. And that's what this concept of value and satisfaction here is to tell you, is when you do a product, you have to think about, who are you doing it for? I'm the owner of this business. Am I doing it for me? If I'm doing it for me, am I representative of anyone that I'm trying to sell the product? If you are representative, and you're representative not only now, but in the near future, then you can spend energy and resources in developing this product. But if you are not representative, it's going to be a very esoteric company and you will fail. This, I would say, I work with a lot of startups, and that's the #1 mistakes that startup makes. Startups are made by people that are very passionate about what they're trying to do. And they oftentimes that what they're trying to do is something that they would want someone to do for them. But they never ask themselves the question, which is, how many people like me would want this product? So then they're very narrow-minded and then they fail. So customer value is very different. When I went to buy, when I came to the US, I was just married, and my spouse wanted a car, and I wanted a car. And I remember I guess it didn't make much sense back then, but I wanted a car for sure with a stick shift. So I was new in Los Angeles. I wanted a stick shift, which is somewhat wrong because it's not really a good place for stick shift, but anyway. And so I wanted a stick shift, and that was my value characteristics. Does it have a stick shift? Yes or no? Does it have a stick shift? Yes or no? And for some reason, my wife was the number of places that you could put a glass inside, set your glass. So it was funny because I bought a Porsche, and there was no place to put the glass. There was no area to set the glass. There was an area in the glove box, so you would open the glove box and you put the glass. But that was really if you're not driving, because the glass would be falling the minute you drive. And it was a stick shift. And so my wife used to think this was an horrible car. You couldn't even put one glass. It was a stick shift. So she bought a big SUV, which had, I think, 9 locations where you could put a glass, and she loved it. And so that stayed with my mind. It's like, wow, I hated her car. For me, this was like a big whale. It was not sexy at all, and forget it. And and she hated my car because it's too low. And anyway, the value is very important. So if you are someone who's designing value, you have to think about this. Then satisfaction. Why would you worry about satisfaction? So satisfaction is the big center of marketing. Why would you worry about it? You worry about satisfaction and being the center because also satisfaction helps people come back. People who are satisfied, they will come back to buy your product. If they come back to buy your product because of satisfaction, that means that you have to spend less marketing. So it's kind of strange that a benefit of driving satisfaction is that it will reduce the need for marketing, sort of sadomasochist, because the marketers are trying to do marketing so well that there's less and less need for marketing. This is true, but it's maybe not the need for marketing, but the effectiveness becomes higher. So you still have the same need, but you become more and more effective, and also you reduce the costs of your marketing by being more effective in satisfying customers. There is a rule of thumb that says that it costs 10 times more to attract a new customer than to retain and maintain a customer. So that's the idea behind making sure that you satisfy your customers. When you are focused on the value in the eyes of the customer, when you are measuring satisfaction and making sure that you drive satisfaction throughout your company, you're very much into a management that focus on the quality, on the total quality. So quality, again, is it the quality as defined by the truth of quality in the eyes of the engineers? No, the quality, the satisfaction, the value, it's always through the eyes of your customers. They are the only one that can define this. So what are those costs and value that they are looking at as a summary. So obviously they're trying to look at the value from what they're getting, the product, the services, the people they buy the product from, the reputation, the image, the recognition of the brand. So this is together the total value of that the customer sees in buying from your company. Then there's costs. So the most obvious one again here would be the monetary, how much they spent, but also the time that they spent, the energy that they spent, because sometimes there's some products that are maybe better, but they require more knowledge in order to be able to use the product. They are not as simple to use. And then there's a psychic cost. So the psychic cost is maybe some products may give you maybe guilt. You feel somewhat guilty because maybe you know this product is polluting, maybe you know that this product is sort of noisy, and you feel guilty more or less for using this product, but that has some sort of cost as well. Do you have any questions on so far on things that I've been presenting? No, so it's so far so clear. So this is a simple thing that relates to what I said before, is when you're looking at satisfaction, you have two things that you're looking at as. One is satisfaction and the other one is dissatisfaction. So what's very important and I want to point out is when you look at value and satisfaction, you look at the perceived value and perceived satisfaction. So in some way, what I'm trying to say is that customers are looking at these not only not based on the truth, or at least the universal truth, but their truth, and that's okay. And the second thing is it's also based on their perceptions. So if they perceive, it's like if you're trying to make a car that goes fast, what's more important, that the car goes fast or that they feel that it goes fast? The truth, I guess you could say that the truth is that it's more important that they feel that it goes fast. The fact that it goes fast is less relevant because people are emotional for the most part, and they very rarely all the time measure things objectively. They more often time measure things subjectively. And the reason behind this is because objective measurements requires more effort. Subjective measurements, how do I feel, requires less effort. It's a very quick way to make a decision. And objective measurements require more information, more time, more knowledge. It's more headaches. So now when you look at satisfaction, there's obviously another concept. Since there is dissatisfaction, satisfaction, there's also over-satisfaction. Over-satisfaction is the idea that would it be a good marketing? I mean, you're telling us, professor, that marketing is satisfaction. Could someone be saying that even better is over-satisfaction? Marketing is over-satisfaction. Marketing is being number one. So it is true. If your objective is to be number one in whatever industry that you're in, it is possible that you're going to have to focus on getting over-satisfaction. But it's also possible to be number one by just satisfying customers. The reality is it's not easy to all the time satisfy customers. And if you succeed to satisfy customers most of the time, meaning that you nailed it. You nailed it in terms of the price, you nailed it in terms of how much money you're making, how much money you're spending, and therefore you have the right balance. And this is sustainable. You're not taking advantage of them, they're not taking advantage of you. If you're ever satisfying them because you're giving them too much, you are decreasing the potential, at least, for making more margin, because you could have been satisfying them before. If you only satisfied them, that would have cost you less. Therefore, you would have made more margin. So therefore, you would have had more profit, which would allow your company to grow bigger and faster. So therefore, you're making a mistake. So the over-satisfaction is, for 99% of the time, a wrong objective. So therefore, in 1% of the time, could it be a good objective? Yes, it could be a good objective. Why would over-satisfying, when and why would over-satisfying be a good objective, do you think?
Retain and get return customers.
Trying to get return customers. Yes, but you get that with satisfaction. What would over-satisfaction do?
Maybe you can make the it would create the customer to be more implied to like leave a good review or something or recommend you to someone else.
So it's true that it's possible that this will create more word of mouth. That's right, what you're saying, word of mouth. It's true. So you get more support, patronage, better relationship. It is true. But the problem of over-satisfying is eventually they always expect the same, a little bit more every time. So it's sort of something that will eventually catch up with you. So the idea is you only over-satisfy if you want to be known as the over-satisfying brand, and this is your goal. So you have to be careful, but that's what you want. Yes, you take that position. Or because you screwed up before, you made mistakes, and now you want to over-satisfy in order to reverse the trend. You know, you go to an hotel and your room is already booked, and then they upgrade you, then you're over-satisfied. That way you can say sorry for the fact that their room was already taken away. So you can do that. You over-satisfy if you're trying to gain market share. There's a situation where you want to regain market share very quickly, and that's possible. You know, so it is not recommended for long term. It's a tool in your toolbox that you can use in certain situations, but you don't want to think that this is an everyday thing to over-satisfy. Because once again, you know, if you over-satisfy means that you're not making the profit you should be making. And it means that the next time you're going to have to over-satisfy from the over-satisfaction that you did. So therefore means that you're going to have to change your prices, because if you do this too many times, you lose money and you go bankrupt. So then are you able to raise the price every time? If you think it's a very price sensitive situation, you won't be able to do that. So you're just going to lose yourself inside this strategy, which is eventually is going to bankrupt you.
Professor,
So, yes.
why is expectation leading to disconfirmation rather than straight to satisfaction?
So
The bubble showing
yeah.
expectations leading to disconfirmation.
Okay, so expectation leads to disconfirmation. So
because I didn't know what disconfirmation officially meant, and it was meaning to like disillude or disconfirm what you had in mind. So I was just why the expectation would then lead to disconfirmation and then satisfaction.
well, it doesn't lead. It's not a lead. Is you have expectation, and then you have what you perceive being the performance, and if it's confirmed, you get satisfaction. If it's disconfirmed, you get dissatisfaction. So yeah, so in this graph, it looks like the disconfirmation, because what happened is the disconfirmation is either positive or negative. So there's a sign. It's missing the signs.
Oh, okay. So it's either one or the other, either disconfirmation or satisfaction.
Yes. So it's
okay.
Either, yeah, if it's expectation through the process of you confirm, disconfirm. If your disconfirmation is negative, then you have satisfaction. If your disconfirmation is disconfirmed, then you have dissatisfaction.
Perfect. Thank you.
The researcher made it this way because they they could have called it confirmation in a way, and then a reverse, confirmation, positive, therefore you are satisfied, confirmation, negative, therefore you're dissatisfied. But the research on satisfaction is called the disconfirmation research. So disconfirmation research is research on looking at if satisfaction is satisfying or not satisfying. Yeah, I've always thought this was funny because they look at it as a negative way. You should confirm. I would look at it from a confirmation versus plus or minus, but they look at the disconfirmation plus or minus. But so the issue I was saying is therefore you have three. You have satisfaction, dissatisfaction, and delight or over satisfaction. And I think satisfaction, dissatisfaction, everybody understand, but what people don't understand is the delight, that you have to be very careful. The last thing I want to talk about here is entrepreneurial marketing, formulated marketing, and entrepreneurial marketing. So the idea of entrepreneurial marketing is that you are you're doing marketing because you're trying to grow a company from ground zero. You're starting a company. So the big problem with starting a company is you don't have satisfaction. So you're selling a product that nobody knows. So the first thing that you have to work on is make sure that there's perceived value. If there's no perceived value, people are not going to buy the product. They are not going to buy the product. So first, make sure that people have perceived value, then they buy the product. And then when they own the product and use it, they need to be satisfied in order to want to buy the product again. So entrepreneurial marketing is understanding that you need to be focused on the customers, you need to be understanding their needs, you need to look at the value that they would want, and then you need to make sure that what they expect to happen when they use the product, not when at the time of purchase, is actually fulfilled. Formulated marketing is another style of marketing which is very common. It's the style that there's people that think that marketing is just a function, and therefore we need to employ this function in order to run the business. So these people are going to be very sales oriented. They're going to say, okay, now that we've made the product, what are the salespeople doing? Oh, the salespeople are trying to sell it. And so what do? Well, they advertise. So they spend money to make money. Spend money, make money. They don't understand that there is efficiencies in trying to market the product by first looking at what do we need to produce before we worry about what have we produced. Formulated marketing is, if you want, it's like a passive marketing. It's where marketing is a band-aid. Marketing is like an ambulance. You do marketing because you have to. Marketing is not what drives the company. Marketing is just another function, and it's their problem to get this thing to be sold. So whatever is needed, let's do it. So let's spend money on social media. What is social media? We see social media is very common these days, and when we do consulting, this is oftentimes with the students, the first thing that the clients are asking us, oh, I'm in my 50s and my kids understand social media. I don't really understand social media. I need to do a little bit of that. The problem they don't understand is social media can be expensive if you let someone else do it. And if it's sort of a fake social media, which consists in just doing some, so that way you're doing it because you don't want to not do it. Social media works when it's authentic, or at least perceived as authentic, by doing it where there's a genuine interest in sharing information for people to see that this is a direct way to receive communication from the company versus just another marketing program campaign that the company is doing. So formulated marketing are the people that didn't totally understand what marketing is, and they're just doing it like a machine. Entrepreneurial marketing, that's a very interesting concept that says that you do marketing because you are launching products, but you're doing marketing even though um, the, um, the company has already been launched. So it comes from being an entrepreneurial. So entrepreneur are usually the people that are equated with starting a company, and being an entrepreneur means someone who has constant vision and constantly running some innovations. So can you be an entrepreneur at Boeing? People would say, no, you can't be an entrepreneur at Boeing because Boeing is one of the largest company in America. They were entrepreneurs 100 years ago, but not anymore because it exists. Yes or no? No, because the term for being an entrepreneur in an existing company, so it's not a startup, it's called intrapreneur. So intrapreneur is the idea that you are constantly acting as if you are starting. And it's not because the company is 100 years old that you are set up. Is you constantly feeling that this is, you need to bring something new. Oftentimes you'll hear about a big company that is buying a small company, and why are they doing that? To bring new blood, to bring new ideas. And oftentimes that's what they do because they are not very good at being entrepreneur, the big companies. They're not very good at being entrepreneurial because they're already comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you don't get as risk taking, you don't get as creative. So entrepreneurial is when you start. Entrepreneurial is being entrepreneur in a company that's not starting, that is already established. And formulated marketing is when you actually don't understand what you're doing and you just almost like following a recipe. All right, so I guess I remember I did this bachelor degree and I learned about advertising. We're gonna have to do that, and we're probably gonna have to create an app. Why? Well, I think everybody's creating an app, so why don't we create an app? So there's this Me Too marketing, if you want, and it's not very authentic. Three philosophy to go about it. So marketing is important because there's some planning. Planning means there is a marketing plan that you're going to have to write, a document that's going to organize what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, where you now, where do you want to go. So all of this organizing this document. You do it because you want to have some measurements of what you had planned and what has happened. You doing it too because you may be trying to look for an investor. You doing it also because you have some employees and you want them to know what's their share and why they're doing it, what's the big picture. So having a plan is very good. A plan is made of different steps. So I will never ask you in a quiz a question such as the planning process, how many steps does it have? 4, 5, 3, 1, 6. There's no such a thing as an answer being a numerical number. What's important is to see the flow and to understand the different steps. So I would say, what is the also another thing is that's what's the most difficult, and you will get a flavor of this with your own project, is when you write a marketing proposition, a marketing report or whatever, you don't write it as like an essay where there's an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And you don't write it from starting by the intro and then the essay and then the conclusion. Is the order is iterative, which means that you may start with number 4, the plan. So the plans are the 4 P's. I told you about the 4 P's just an hour ago. It's product, price, promotion, and place. That's your plans. Your strategy is the broad overall idea that you have to create in order to give the direction for the company for a long period. So why I say a long period, because this period is different if you're in different technologies. If you are working in software, maybe that's a year. If you're working in a soda company, maybe 5 years. If you're working for the railroad, it may be 20 years. So strategy have a different time span depending on the industry. And um, so that's why I can't tell you how long is a strategy, because it depends on the industry. So then you could go to the objectives. But here again is, once you finish one of those sections and you go to the next one, it is very possible to go back to the one that you did earlier. That's why writing anything that has to do with marketing is very iterative, where you have to go back and forth. So let me show you like the table of content. The basic table of content that you will find is that there's an executive summary at the beginning. And usually an executive summary tends to be 1 page. If it's sophisticated, elaborate, all that, you could have 2, 3 pages. That's more so that you have 3 pages when your document is itself 200 pages, because there's a lot to summarize. But you want your executive summary to be short. An executive summary is never an introduction. Why do I say that? Because when people do marketing plans, I would say 9 times out of 10, their summary is an introduction, and it should be a summary, as simple as this. The executive summary is very important, because sometimes, and most of the time, if the person is trying to get a quick ID, they're trying to get this quick ID from the executive summary, and they don't want to waste time looking at everything else. If they don't like the executive summary, it's unlikely that they're going to read the rest. If they really, really, really like the executive summary, they may be reading the rest. The next section is the SWOT, SWOT. So this is the section that you will spend the most time. If you write a marketing plan and your SWOT is bad, most likely everything else is going to be bad. On the other hand, if your SWOT is good, most likely everything else is going to be good. So a poor SWOT is usually a sign of a poor document. It's a little bit like, how do you know that someone takes care? You're buying a used car. To look to see if this used car was well taken care of, you look inside. If inside the car, the seats and all that is a mess, the carpet is a mess, it is very likely that they didn't take care of the engine either. So they are just signs. So if someone writes a plan and they didn't take care of the SWOT, it's very likely that everything else was not well taken care of. The issue analysis is essentially talking about the different strategies that are possible, that are potentially recommendable. So in that situation, in the issue analysis, you talk about the various strategy and you recommend the one that you think is the best. That's also what you will be doing. So you'll be doing the SWOT, the issue analysis, and then you will specify a few objectives, and then and that's it, pretty much. So you will do a portion of the marketing plan. You won't do a full marketing plan because, you know, also now with the online format, and the number of students that we have, is very difficult for me to make sure that you do everything well within the time that we have. So I would rather have you understand and do very well the 2 most important parts of this document very, very well. And then the rest is easier to learn to do once you've done those 2 parts better. So what I'd like to do now very quick is just stop share this, because I want to share again the samples I have. So let's see, where are they? Oh, there. So you've all probably looked at the sample I sent you. So just to go quick, the sample is 10 pages, and I made it very obvious. You know why? Because where it's page 10, it's in red. And on page 10, very red, you can't miss it. It says page 10 is here, right? You can see my screen, please. I'm not sure you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can see it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So there is page 10. And so it's a 10 pages. So you don't want to write this on page 10. This was just for me. The first page does not count, the cover page. The cover page, I made the one with the crystal available as a Word document. So you can just download it and use this as the template that you want to start working on. Be careful, because this semester I'm actually giving you this as a Word document. I haven't done that very many times, but every time I did it, I found people talking about crystal somewhere in their Califia Farm report. Califia Farm is the first time we do that, but in the client report. So when we were working on, I don't know, snorkeling equipment, I would find things that has to do with my template. So make sure you don't just keep every word that is in there. It's irrelevant. Most of it is irrelevant, but you can actually see the format. The format is single space. So is it double space? No. Is it triple space? No, it's single space. And it's stated exactly like this. It's lots of bullet points. Why is this the format that I'm teaching? Because this is the format that is mostly used in the industry. In the industry, mostly if you're a profit organization, time is money and you go straight to the point. But you don't want to be too short either. So if you look at my sentences, they sort of have a pattern. 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, something like that. Okay? So what it is that you have a bold section and then you have a sentence. The bold section need to be self-explanatory. So you'll see. So here, already importing stones. That's a strength from this company. So it's not putting importing stones. Importing stones is not self-explanatory. It's already importing stones. The next one, many store locations. It doesn't say stores or store locations. It says many store locations. So then if you read the rest, it's explicit, but the title should be self-explanatory. Already a B2C business. It doesn't say B2C. Knowledgeable and authentic owner, right? Why do I want you to do it this way? Because again, time is money. Because not only you need to write reports, but you also need to present reports. If you were to present this report, your PowerPoint is already done. Guess what? It's the title for each one of these. So if this was a PowerPoint, this will be one slide, right? You would have a slide that is called strength, and what you would do is you would just leave this on the PowerPoint. That would be on the PowerPoint, already importing stones. In a PowerPoint, you want to avoid having long sentences. So for example, if I was copying and pasting this in a PowerPoint, that would be wrong. That's a no-no, a bad PowerPoint. Just the self-explanatory. So if you want, the bold section will be on the PowerPoint, and what's written after will be essentially what you're saying or what you're explaining. Okay, so that's how you do it in the most effective way in business. You need to know how to write this way, because this way that's how the people above you are going to appreciate it, because it's easy to read, it's fast to read, it's to the point, you helping them. You're not creating a problem. What must students do? So I don't want to insult you, but I've done this a long time. Students, 98% of the time, will write something, a bullet point that is almost the paragraph that I have here. So therefore, you have one bullet point, and inside that one bullet point, you got 5 or 6 IDs. Or if you want, 5 or 6 strengths. If you have 5 or 6 strengths, put 5 or 6 bullet points. Don't bury things inside the paragraph. So burying things is never in your favor. So weaknesses and all that. So now opportunities are the difficult one. Crystals are big sellers, and then he gives you the explanation, and then he gives you the reference. So it's always like this: bold, sentence, reference. Bold, sentence, reference. Systematically. It's not you making things up. It's always like that. So here again, if I was to present the opportunity to an investor, this is already, the work is already done. The presentation can be done in a few seconds because the bullets, points, title are already there. Okay, so like I said, last session, and again, I will repeat myself because it's very important, the opportunities are not what you are going to do. The opportunities are just facts, existing facts.